This is Make It Mentionable. I'm Alyssa Patmos, and this is the show about being human in a world that encourages us to be robots. I invite you to join me as we journey through the mess, the magic, and the mania in between, because what we can talk about, we can manage. This honest conversation extravaganza includes free-flowing conversations and high doses of vulnerability to remind you that you aren't alone. No topic is off limits, and episodes are designed to leave you smarter, aka more self-aware than when you came. I am so glad you're here. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Make It Mentionable. I'm your host, Alyssa, and this week we are talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. Pretty much everything we talk about is near and dear to my heart, but this one has been on my mind lately, and that is clarity. Because it's so much easier to act when we have a sense of clarity, but sometimes it feels like it is just not there. So how do we experience more clarity in our lives? But first, if you're watching the show on YouTube, you can see that I am wearing a Make It Mentionable hoodie. Jeff worked with one of his sons to put my face on a sweatshirt, cartoon version of it, and I love it. So I thought I would wear it on the show this week. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You can see it at alyssapatmos.com/show. This is episode 53. All right, so clarity. It's something that has come up for me numerous times this week in conversations with friends. I was out to drinks with a friend of mine, Ashley, earlier this week, and we were talking about manifestation and the things that we like about how manifestation is talked about, and then the things that we absolutely hate. But what each of us has found over and over again is that things tend to fall in our lap like when we're clear. And it's those moments where we don't have clarity that can cause us to feel like we're snails, or like things are just moving super, super slow, or cluttered and unfocused. And so how do we get back to those moments when we feel super, super clear? And one of the things that I noticed is one of the things that absolutely, completely muddies the water of clarity is chasing certainty. And we've talked about uncertainty on here a lot, like the only thing certain is uncertainty. But in terms of clarity, certainty is a clarity blocker. Because when we go and we want to chase down this like 100% feeling of certainty, we're not accounting for the fact that, we're wired to look for fear. We're wired to want to figure out how everything's going to go down and have this like perfect answer before we step into something. And so we can muddy our crystal clear vision with the how of how we're going to do something. And this happens to me all the time when I'm writing. It'll be like, okay, I have clarity of vision around something I want to create. And then when I start to think about the 5 million ways it could go down, it gets muddied. And then I want this like certainty of like, okay, what is the right way? What is the perfect way that this is going to work? And that's an illusion. And then it muddies the clarity of the water, and it can lead to old patterns coming up of feeling not enough then, or getting stuck in perfection. And so sometimes we actually have clarity, but we don't know how to let ourselves see that we do. And this is why I constantly talk about the next dose of clarity, because you don't have to have this certainty to be able to move forward. You just have to have the next dose of clarity. And that forms this comprehensive picture and focuses your actions, because there's nothing more painful than sitting in this like purgatory of unfocused creativity, where you know that you can be doing more, you know you can be using your gifts in a different way, but you're not sure how, because things have gotten very, very muddied. That is a very uncomfortable place to be in. And when we lack clarity, that's when we start to see patterns creep in, like going to the fridge instead of sitting down to do the work because it feels easier, or staying in a marriage that we might not like because it seems easier than like facing the consequences of saying, ugh, actually, this isn't what I want anymore. So do we even allow ourselves the clarity that we might have if we're scared of the consequences, or if our old patterns come in and kind of trump this sense of clarity because they feel more familiar? Sometimes we don't know how to recognize our clarity because it doesn't feel familiar, especially if it's a new territory. And there are times in my life when I have been super, super clear. Like when I got my tattoo, I was like, yes, I want this. And I knew what I wanted. I wanted an X-ray of a flower. Like I didn't really care beyond that though. That was the beauty. I was like, okay, I know I want an X-ray of a flower. I handed it over to the artist. I gave him some creative freedom. I walked in 2 weeks later, saw it for the first time. He stenciled it on my arm. And 2 hours later, I walked out with a tattoo. There was no like editing or revisions or anything. And I had clarity there, and it made it easy to just like jump on board the action train and take aligned action. I didn't have to overthink everything. And it's those moments where I'm constantly trying to recreate and it doesn't always work. And so those moments are beautiful, but there are ways to find clarity without it needing to be that. And it starts first with allowing it in. Like, if you got crystal clarity right now, would you be willing to allow it? Would you listen to it? Because if not, if you got a crystal clear hit from your gut or from the universe, or just like a sense of knowing, like, and I'm not talking about this mental knowing, I'm talking about just like the knowing when you really, really know, when you just know somehow, would you act on it? And if the answer is no, then it's likely that you're muddying the clarity waters. You're muddying your ability to even see where you truly do know something. And this has been a struggle for me for years and years and years. In fact, I have paid so much money for someone else to give me the answers around clarity and to like invoke that feeling around the tattoo. And it's something that I have a gift at doing with other people, like helping them see the patterns and unlock something in themselves that actually allows them to experience clarity. It's one of my favorite ways to work with people. And it is one of my favorite ways because it's what I wanted for so long. It's what I wanted for myself for so long. And I paid person after person after person looking for this thing. And it wasn't something that I was getting. And so 1, I looked at how I was blocking it, but 2, I considered like, maybe this is something I'm uniquely good at. And I honed it and I practiced it more and I worked with people and I realized like, oh yeah, this is something I'm uniquely good at. And because sometimes, like it takes us a really long time to see what's in front of our nose, I have finally decided to offer something formally around this, and it is called Prisma, and I would love to invite you into it to see your next decision clearly, because the cost of not making a decision, of not having focused action, continues to get higher and higher and higher the more that you sit in this limbo place in between, just knowing that there's more you could do or more you could have or more you could share with the world. And there is nothing more painful, speaking from personal experience, when you look back at your notebooks and you have a note 4 years ago of something you wanted to do, but you were just too scared to do it, or you were uncertain, or you didn't feel like you had enough clarity around it, and so you didn't do it. There's nothing more painful than being in the same place a year from now than you are right now. There's nothing more painful than saying you want something right now and being in the exact same place a year from now. I want more for you. I have done that so many damn times. And fortunately, I've learned some ways to get out of it. And so I have created a 45-day accelerator to help you see your next decision clearly. And at the end, we also design your practical pivots that allow you to actually make the change. Because sometimes we know what needs to happen, but we just don't know how to get there. And that's where the art of the pivot comes in. So if this is a topic that is calling to you, if you know that there is something deep, deep, deep down that you need to make a decision on, you've got to make a change, and you're looking for that next dose of clarity, Prisma is for you, and it will completely shake up how you see the decision that you have in front of you, and you will walk away at the end of 45 days with a sense of clarity to move forward. And I'm so confident in that. I completely guarantee the program. So head on over to alyssapatmos.com/Prisma to check it out. And I cannot wait to welcome you in if it's the thing that is calling to you right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next week. You've just finished listening to another episode of Make It Mentionable with me, your host, Alyssa Patmos. If you're looking for more in between episodes, then sign up for The Peel. It's my free newsletter that gives tips for how to navigate whatever life dishes. And it's also the place where I share the juiciest of stories. To check it out, head on over to alyssapatmos.com/The Peel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.